We have concluded the excuse me, we're back in session. We have concluded the executive session. No votes were taken at that session. And since it's 7 o'clock, we will go to the public comment section of our agenda. Is there anyone here for public comment? Yes? Please come forward.
Okay. Hi.
Hey.
My name is Laura Torrance, 17 Vernon Court in Woodbridge. Thank you to all of you volunteers for all your time, and basically just here wondering what's happening and where is our animal control officer, Karen Lombardi. We'd like to know if we can expect her back at any time soon. It seems as though they're doing the best they can under the circumstances, understaffed. And I understand there's an internal investigation being performed, but when that is completed, what should we expect? Will she get to return to her job, or will we have to wait until she has a trial by jury, which could be, a year from now? We need her back because as a citizen here, I have 4 dogs and 5 chickens and a rooster and a pig, and I don't know how many of you here have dogs and cats, but I've needed her and Paul over the years, probably every few months, and right now it seems that they're very, very stressed. Paul's doing a good job trying to hold the fort down, but we really need her to return, and I don't know why the town hasn't really pushed to get her back into her position. She's not fired, she's just on leave, and we really need her. The shelter went from a real vibrant community of volunteers that enjoyed helping out, and a lot of kids and mothers and children visiting the shelter, to it's absolutely a ghost town down there now. No one's there visiting, doing anything. And I think that was the plan all along with the police, because Paul and Karen for 2 years had something that was really going well, and then all of a sudden the police got involved, and for whatever the reasons, now she's not there, and we're really, I think as a town, we're supposed to be a rural town, and we don't have the support we need from the government here to help Karen get back into her position. We really need her, and the citizens want her back, and I speak for a lot of people that don't want to write negative publicity about it, because we're hoping that you guys are going to really look into it and figure out that she belongs back in her job, and she was not doing her job when she was there. She was being watched and micromanaged by the police, and now that they're not there, we all want her back, and we hope that you'll really look into it deeply and get her back into her job where we need her. I've lived in Woodbridge for 15 years, and I've really never needed, my house isn't caught on fire, and I haven't been arrested except for talking on my cell phone, which they didn't get to arrest me even though they would have liked to. But as far as, the animal control, I've called them countless times, and they've always been there for me, and Paul and Karen in particular, and I've adopted a lot of animals, and I'm wondering what the numbers are for animals that have come and gone through the shelter since she's been gone, and I'm just hoping you people will really put a close eye on it, and before the year is out, we can get her back in and get things back to normal. I know it's been a big change, losing Ed Sheehy and all, and it's been, hard for you. You came in at the last minute, but we really need Karen back, and I hope you'll really, really look into it and consider it. And I thank you for your time.
We certainly can assure you that we're all aware of the issue. We can't comment too much about it because of the pending case, but we all appreciate your concern. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for hearing me.
Anyone else?
My name is Leland Torrance, husband of Flora. I'm here also to speak on behalf of Karen. I'm also very mindful of being too critical, because every time I'm critical I end up on a commission or on a committee. I really appreciate what you guys do and the amount of time it takes. Working on the plan for conservation and development some 10, 12 years ago. One of the things that is so important to the town is its rural nature and its open spaces, and with that comes lots of animals. And I bet there aren't too many people in this room that don't have a pet. But there are also wild animals, feral animals. And I think it's very important that we have a vibrant animal shelter that the town gets behind, making it as, you know, what it really could be. Tony, I know you've sort of now been saddled with yet another thing that probably wasn't in your job description. But I'd like to also volunteer to say I've worked with Tony on the Thomas Darling House and working out some plans and capital improvement needs, things like that. I've spent, Joe, I don't know, 60 meetings on the Public Works building. And I would be happy to volunteer to help it be on a committee or a commission that would organize and try and get that facility working well again. But I do want to speak on behalf of Karen in that I know quite a few veterinarians and people that work with animals, and she's one of the best I've seen. I mean, she's sort of a whisperer types. I think the allegations that I've heard are not only very hard to believe, but so minuscule in terms of their economic hardship for the community that I think it's something we need to rally together as a small community and say, okay guys, let's sit down at the table, let's forget about the legal stuff. We're all a team here, and let's get back together and get the shelter going. So that's what I hope we can do. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here for public comment? Great. Then we will now, I'm sorry.
My name is Ilya Alexiadis. I am the chairman of the Fire Commission, and I am here to thank in a public way, at my first opportunity, the members of the Woodbridge Fire Department, our volunteer firefighters, for their outstanding work on Saturday night in putting out a house fire at 22 Coachman's Lane. They were talking about, and many of you may have seen the news coverage, but we were talking about a building that was fully involved at the time it was called, flames at the time it was called in, and so when the firefighters arrived on the scene, there were flames 25, 30 feet in the air, and the surrounding brush and leaves had caught on fire as well. And through the firefighters' outstanding efforts, and with the assistance of mutual aid from Bethany, Prospect, Seymour, and Orange, they were able to save a good portion of the house, and which, including the personal effects of the family that were inside of the house. And I know that, and I met with the family members, as did Ellen, the following day, as they were going in with the assistance of the fire marshal to recover some of their belongings. And it was just great work, and I wanted to make sure and take the opportunity to thank them for their service, and also thank the selectmen, Ellen and Beth, who visited the scene at the time.
Thank you. Aaliyah, I think we all want to extend our thanks as well. I was going to bring it up later in the meeting, but the firefighters did an outstanding job. It was really a horrible scene to see. I hadn't seen something like that before, and the cooperation and the energy was just amazing. And I wanted to recognize also the families. I know Beth was back at the firehouse with some of the families of the firefighters, making sandwiches and getting coffee, and some of the logistics of such a long battle, really, with the fire. There was so much. Yes, no, that's okay.
Some of the family members, brought up, coffee and Gatorade and water to the scene. We helped carry it up the road so that, for refreshment from the firefighters who were literally in the heat of battle. I think Chief Rowland's in the back of the room. I don't know if you had any questions for him. I know it's not on the agenda, but I wanted to make that point.
Our thanks and our gratitude, and also to the mutual aid from the other towns. It was a real greater community effort, and we have extended to the family the support of the town, and they know that if there's anything they need, they can come to the town and ask us. And Aaliyah, thank you very much for being there and for lending support to them too.
Right.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, without objection, then we will go back to item number 1 on the agenda, which is the Beecher Building Committee presentation. And just to set the stage for this, the Beecher Building Committee has been working for 2 years now on this project, and I want to thank them very much. I've seen some of the very hard work and many, many hours that have gone into this project. They did present to us, I think probably 2 months ago, a month or two ago, a presentation that would be made to the public to inform the public about the proposed renovation to the building. And we met with the Board of Finance. I think some Board of Finance members are here. We met jointly with the Board of Finance, and Board of Education members were there. And at that time, there was a request that some additional information be put into the presentation, and Tony didn't have his numbers. So this is to just show everyone again what's been added to it, and this is the presentation that will be made at the Public Informational Forum next week on the 20th at 7 o'clock in the Center Gym. So it's really, this is just an update. This is not really to talk about details of the project, but this is what the presentation will look like. And I will just add that there are some pieces in here where at the presentation next week, I will introduce and close the meeting, so that won't be part of this. And I will emphasize the use of this school as a community resource. And that's the only piece that won't be part of it. Jeff, do you want to? Jeff is the chair of the building committee. Thank you.
I try to change it a little so everyone doesn't fall asleep. We've heard it all 3 times. Good evening. After several years of work, the previous building committee recommended a project that was almost $20 million. As a response, the town, knowing that there were needs at the school, but $20 million was going to be a difficult project to pass, they set up another building committee to look at the recommendation to determine if it could be pared down and possibly built in phases over a 2 or 3 year time period. The new building committee set the envelope as a top priority for the school building by creating a tight energy efficient envelope to work towards as a base for the additional phases. Initially, this was going to include replacing aging mechanical systems, new roofs, and window walls. As the analysis continued and the actual cost numbers were determined, it was decided that possibly the project could be done as one project that would take place over a 2-year period, but just be continuation. At this time, at the point we were getting these numbers, we also added things into the project from the last building committee at the request of the Board of Ed. Early on, we engaged the services of John Rice from AKF to evaluate the mechanicals in the envelope with the approval of the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. With AKF's guidance, we went out to bid to 4 firms to evaluate our project and submit proposals. The 2 top choices were Honeywell and ESG. Eventually, the committee went with ESG. Very early on, the Board of Selectmen requested that the pool become part of our charge, and later on in the process, security was also added onto our charge. The approximate breakdown of those 3 charges is the school's approximately $10.5 million. The pool part of the project is approximately $2 million, and the security is approximately just under $1 million. We did actually early on in the process look into the possibility of building a new school instead of fixing this school, and we were told that the cost would be in the range of $50 million. So we moved on that quickly. The building committee basically has 5 members. Andy Esposito from the Board of Finance, Greg Coyne, former member of the Board of Selectmen, Sheila McCreven, former Board of Ed member, Jason Planenbecker, PTO rep, and myself, former Board of Ed member. Along with the 5 members, we had the input of Dr. Stella, Al Pulo, and Margaret Hamilton attending all our meetings. The committee has met diligently almost weekly and did a job that would not have been possible without the cooperation of everyone. At the presentation to the Board of Ed on December 2012, they voted the approval of the project that is being proposed by the Building Committee. We have a public meeting scheduled for November 20th to discuss the project with interested residents, and we'd encourage all of you to come and listen. And so I want to thank you, and I'm going to introduce John Rice from AKF. Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, we're going to do a video first, then John's going to come on. Sorry.
Nestled in the rolling green countryside of Woodbridge, Connecticut, Beecher Road School is home to approximately 770 students in pre-kindergarten through 6th grade. Built in the 1960s, Beecher Road School serves as more than a school for Woodbridge residents. It is home to many community events and programs all year. This past summer, more than 500 children and adults were engaged in programs and activities including summer enrichment, special education, and a literacy clinic. As an integral part of the Woodbridge community, Beecher Road School continuously seeks to promote academic excellence, community engagement, and responsible citizenship in a safe, secure, and nurturing environment. Like many school districts in the country, Beecher Road School is facing aging infrastructure challenges. The building is constantly requiring repairs and is, in fact, wasting energy, whereby Beecher Road School is now in the bottom % of schools in terms of energy performance.
There's a sharp contrast. Beecher Road School academically is one of the top schools in the state, in fact in the country. In science we were number 1 in our DERG, which is the top 20 performing districts, number 5 in the state out of 168 districts. But that contrasts with the fact that nationally we're on the bottom of energy efficiency. That means dollars going out the windows and doors during the heating season. The fact is though that we could be on the top 20%. We could be a green school and use our environment correctly.
While the school has grown over the past several years, parts of the school building are over 50 years old. The aging infrastructure interrupts the school's learning environment with challenges, such as poor indoor air quality, roof leaks, poor insulation resulting in building heat loss, and lack of heating and air conditioning.
As a parent, we know to send our kids to school on the coldest winter day in layers, from a tank top to a sweatshirt, because in some rooms the heat is working way too well and a tank top's the appropriate outfit, and in other rooms a sweatshirt and mittens are the appropriate outfit.
In my role as an administrator, it's not just reading, writing, and arithmetic. I need to be concerned about the facilities as well.
45 years ago, I was looking out the same windows that my students, my first grade students today, look out.
A careful and thorough evaluation of the school building verified the need for a variety of infrastructure improvements in order to ensure a quality, safe, and secure learning environment. Among the needed improvements are upgrades to the windows and doors, boilers, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, as well as a new roof to prevent water leaks and damage. According to the teachers and staff who work hard to overcome current building challenges, a proactive approach that facilitates the implementation of needed improvements is more conducive to the school standards of academic excellence.
We expect the classrooms to be environments that are conducive to learning, and many times they're really interrupted, that learning process.
In this classroom, the air handling system and the heating circulation system is old enough so that the noise that it makes actually interferes with our ability to teach and learn. As an example of how the system works, when the air handling and the heating system is on, it sounds like it is right now. When it's turned off, the sound in the room dramatically changes. So I think it's pretty clear that the influence of the system on teaching and learning in this classroom is pretty acute.
We have windows that do not have screens, and we can't get screens because they are so old. So that does not allow for any kind of fresh air, extra fresh air coming in.
Studies have found that a better physical environment that includes superior energy performance contributes to increased learning and productivity.
The building serves as a town center. Besides the education that goes on during the day, there are comprehensive recreation programs throughout the afternoon and into the late evening hours. Truly a building that does not sleep. We can be awarded a green school certification. Better learning environment for our children help us to have a higher quality of education. At the same time, save taxpayers and provide a wonderful school and community school for the next 20 years.
Now I'll introduce John Rice.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
I was asked just to give an overview of what the scope of work is for this renovation project. Starting here, just to reiterate what you just saw in the video, that the building systems are pretty much outdated. A lot of the building systems date back to the 1960s and 70s, making them 50 or 40 years old. What you see here is one of the old boilers, some of the mechanical equipment up on the roof and in one of the mechanical rooms. The main boilers, one of them had failed, so right now the building is running on only one boiler and there's no backup. And then in one of the classrooms, you see evidence of roof leaks and then these moisture absorbent bags because the humidity levels are so high from moisture intrusion into the building. We brought a consultant in to do thermal infrared scans on the building's facade because we wanted to see how the building's envelope was performing. This is the A, B, and C wing. It was made of single pane glass, 1960s vintage, thermally unbroken mullions and sashes. And you can see from the thermal scans, the light colors is where most of the heat is leaving. So the caulking is gone, and then all the single pane glass is very energy efficient also. Even on the newer portions of the building, this is the S wing, and it was put in with these soffit vents, and the soffit vents are another path where heat is escaping the building. All these measures we have proposed to improve in the building improvement program. So the overall scope of work is this. We want to improve the building envelope that we were just looking at. We want to install new high-efficiency gas boilers. All the mechanical equipment will be upgraded to more energy-efficient measures. We want to put a building management system, control system in the building that'll automatically turn equipment on and turn equipment off when it's not in use. Lighting controls in the classroom. When kids aren't in there, the lights will go off. We want to install a microturbine. We'll go into that a little bit. Solar panels on the roof. Wind turbines, more for educational purposes for the kids, just to understand how energy is produced. And there will be a security upgrade project for the school as well. So the roof is the roof replacement project is only going to be for the original A, B, and C wing, the original building. The rest of the roofs are newer. So it's this portion of the school right here. This is what it looks like right now. And this is one of the systems at another building, obviously. It's a light color, high albedo roof that reflects the heat. It has much more insulation value, and it will be an energy enhancement to the school. We also would plan to replace the curtain walls, the window walls on the A, B, and C wings. And so these are the areas right here around all this area and then inside some of the courtyard. This is the 1960s portion of the building, and it will be replaced there. The boiler plant that we spoke about, this is the old boiler that failed. We want to bring in new high-efficiency gas condensing boilers. This is what they look like. They fit through a doorway. They're up to 93% efficient. They qualify for utility rebates. In terms of mechanical upgrades, a new air-cooled chiller will be on the roof to provide air conditioning for the entire building. A new pool dehumidification system. In the pool area, there's a lot of chlorines that get in the air, and if you don't dehumidify that air, that moisture goes throughout the entire building, and it threatens to corrode the structure of the building. So this will be an enhancement that will protect the building life for years to come. And then, just back one, these are energy recovery ventilators. These will be up on the roof, and they'll be used to bring fresh air into the building, and you have to exhaust an equivalent amount of air, and this recovers the energy of the waste heat, and it tempers the fresh air coming into the building. So this is the overall plan. It has, there's an existing two-pipe system that runs throughout the entire building. Right now, it's only heating. We're going to introduce chilled water into it with the air-cooled chiller. So in the summertime, it'll be cooling. In the wintertime, it'll be heating. We're going to have fan coil units, one per classroom for individual temperature control. So this is the new plan for the school. Building management control system, what they call a direct digital control system. Instead of the old antiquated equipment, Greg Cooler will now be able to sit at his desktop and monitor what's going on throughout the building. This is what that desktop monitor will look like. He'll be able to monitor all areas of the building from his desktop or even from home. Lighting and lighting controls. As we said before, we'll have occupancy sensors in all the classrooms, high efficiency lighting. There will be renewable energy as part of the upgrade as well. What's being proposed is a 50 kW solar panel array on the roof, and just for educational purposes, some small, these are Honeywell hydrotropic wind turbine products. So where the building is right now in terms of energy performance, right now this is where the building performs. It's an Energy Star rating of 38, and the Energy Star Portfolio Manager is a national database of where all peer schools can rate themselves. So a 38 rating means that we're in the bottom 38 percentile of energy performance nationally for K through 12 schools. This is what a median school looks like, 50% better, 50% less. This is what an Energy Star rated school would look like, where 75% of the schools are worse, 25% are better. And this is where we're projecting that we could get to with the energy improvements that we've proposed there. On top of that, with these energy improvements, we believe that this school can get a LEED for Schools Gold rating. LEED is the United States Green Building Council rating system. It's a definition of what is green. We wanted to highlight this because it's a collaborative process. We'll be able to invite the town in to participate in some of the environmental measures and learn about them through these design charrettes. So in summary, the project goals to improve the overall building's energy performance, to enhance the indoor environmental quality, to achieve a high-performance building, and that we want to set the sights really high for this project in this community and to leave a legacy for this community that'll serve the community for years to come. Part of the project will be a facelift for the school. There will be a new canopy that's being proposed. The architect Herbert Newman and Associates, they've been retained. This is one of the renderings that they've developed as the new look for the north entrance. And this is one of the renderings that they've developed for one of the interior classrooms with the new lighting shown, new painting that'll be in the classrooms. And this is one of the wings where we've been able to remove that unit ventilator and put an overhead system in the classroom.
Thank you, John. I wanted to go through some of our existing debt and some information about the project in terms of how much it'll cost the town and the taxpayers. First, about our existing debt. Our current debt service for our 2014 budget is $2.4 million, and that includes bonds for our new fire station, open space, Beecher South roof, library, soil remediation, and our 96 Beecher addition. This also includes notes for the Country Club of Woodbridge acquisition and the Public Works facility. So our total town indebtedness as of 6/30/13 was $23 million. So that gives you a framework for how much the town owes currently in debt, not including the Amity debt, which we will get into in a little bit. This table just gives you a sort of a snapshot of our debt service going out for 6 years. And one important thing to notice is in fiscal year 2017, which is the fourth column, you'll see that the Beecher refinance, which was refinanced in '01, but which was actually began in '96, is paid off. So you'll see that there's a drop in total debt service that year from $2.8 to $2.3 million. If you want. Oh, thanks. This thing works.
Yeah.
There we go. So there's the difference there. So that's something to keep in mind in this project, should it go forward, where we have this drop here. Okay. This is just a graphical illustration for those who like to see things graphically. You'll see here the drop in our debt service. Okay. So the current budget for the project is $13.59 million. And this permanent financing is scheduled, or for the purposes of this presentation, for July of 2016. So that'll take advantage of the drop in debt service that we just discussed. The budget for 13.59 does not include possible grant or utility incentives, which is currently estimated at $300,000 to $400,000. The bond issue would be a 20-year issue with an anticipated interest rate of 3.25%. That's we do a competitive, bond sale, so we will get the best rate that's available on the market for a AAA rated community at that time. The total principal borrowed for this project would be then at $13.7 million, and interest paid over 20 years is $4.7 million, which would give you principal and interest for this project of $18.4 million. Just as a framework for how that would look in a budget, the annual debt service for FY17 would be about a little over $1.1 million. So if you remember that graph that we had, which was 2 slides before, if you can do that, we have a drop of here about 500,000, but increase to that would be the 1.1 million for the project. That in that year, that would be 0.83 mils. Okay. So you have the $18.4 million principal and interest. It's been estimated that this project will have an energy savings of about $2.9 million over that 20-year period. There's also some additional maintenance and monitoring of about a little less than $1 million over that period. The idea here is to give you a budget impact over the 20-year period of about $16 million. So that gives you the budget impact of the project, and then you also have the total debt impact of the project. Currently, the assessor's office has our mean value, house value at $450,000, almost right on the button there, which would be assessed at $315,000. So that would be an average of a little less than $200 a year for each house. Now keep in mind, as we pay off debt, it's higher at the beginning and lower at the end. So it's more like 260, 270 in the first few years, but down to 115 or so in the last few years. So the 199 is just simply the average of those 20 years. That's the same graph that I presented earlier with the debt for the Beecher project. So you'll see here, get this pen the right way, there we go. There's that year where the budget would have the first principal payment, which takes advantage of this drop here, but there's also a little bit of an increase in your debt service. Also to keep in mind, we have other, I always like to present in a presentation like this that there is other town debt that is being proposed by other departments. And so these are basically from last year, the current year's 6-year capital plan. And it's being proposed to be financed by bonds, which includes renovation of the police station in 2 phases, including $2.5 million in phase 1, $2.7 million in phase 2, and then the capital plan has a proposed open space purchase is of $3 million. So if you look at that graphically again, you'll see those are scheduled currently for the further end of the curve here. That's the red, and you'll see how that fits into our debt profile here. So those are all those projects that are scheduled. This does not include our Amity debt, which currently is about a little less than 30% of the budget. The way we figure this is called overlapping debt, and it's reported routinely at our rating agencies and other credit monitoring agencies, and represents about 30% of their debt. So our debt's about $15.7 million, or our proportion of their debt. So that leaves our total direct and overlapping debt of about a little less than $40 million. So that gives you a framework for, we're proposing to borrow $13 million, and our current debt is at 40. So it just gives you a sort of a flavor for how much of our current debt you have versus the proposed. Okay.
Beecher Road School stands as a hallmark of the Woodbridge community, consistently providing a leading educational environment that prepares students to excel academically, personally, and socially.
Well, I think as a resident of Woodbridge, I know that so many like myself families have come to this town because of the educational system.
We're a leader in terms of using technology, and we have a very good infrastructure in terms of the technology that's available to students.
We're a community that prides ourselves in education. People move here because of the schools.
As part of the infrastructure improvements, Beecher Road School will also receive a new, fun, and kid-friendly facade that will provide better weather protection. The building upgrades will allow for better classroom lighting, more natural outdoor lighting, air conditioning, and ventilation throughout the entire school building. A new roof, new boilers, and significantly improved indoor air quality. As a result, Beecher Road School will be a healthy, high-performance school, both academically and structurally. By implementing these improvements, the school will dramatically enhance its operations to run more efficiently and cost-effectively, ranking with the top 20% of schools in energy efficiency performance. The improvements will also extend the life of the building by 20 to 25 years.
We can be in the top 20%. We can be awarded a green school certification. That would provide a better learning environment for our children, help us to have a higher quality of education, at the same time save taxpayers, and provide a wonderful school and community school for the next 20 years.
The new and improved Beecher Road School will uphold the Woodbridge community's dedication to academic excellence, safety, and responsible use of taxpayer dollars.
Thank you. Certainly a big change from the last presentation. And I want to say, Dr. Stella, you look great on screen. What did I say? Again, this is not a meeting to talk about the details or questions about the project. Were there any comments about the presentation?
Too. I don't know who to address this to. I guess, John, this is for you. As you know, we previously had a presentation that you were here for, and we've seen some of this. There's been some more details added. But one thing that has changed since you were here last, a few months ago, is we hopefully just, as a town, approved the purchase and installation of 3 new boilers that we were, at the advice of your company, the very boilers you would use for this project, so we wouldn't duplicate if we do hire you. However, what was not talked about, and I did not see in that presentation, is the cost of those boilers was approximately $375,000. I haven't seen your presentation or your cost to us go down any. So is that something that just hasn't shown on the slide? Should we expect a new price? Wasn't the original price you gave us inclusive of you buying and installing the boilers? And wouldn't our costs be reflective since we're now doing that before we enter an agreement, possibly?
Okay, I understand the question. Now, we're a consulting engineering firm. We don't sell the boilers. I believe your question is saying that the project budget was the 13.59 million.
Correct.
That portion that you're spending for the boilers right now is part of that budget. That is money that's being spent now that will come out of that budget.
Well,
if
but I'm
that's-
saying we financed it, we are financing it through our means. So I'm expecting to see it on the presentation at one point where that $375, whatever that number may be, is going to be reflected on your presentation, even to the town, which is coming up November 20th. I believe I'd like to see that the company and the project is going to reflect the fact that we have spent that money on the very boilers you provided as what you thought was the best for the system. And I just want to be sure that in the presentation, that dollar amount is not duplicated. I don't expect to pay the same amount, is what I'm saying, after we've spent the money on the very boilers that were suggested.
Absolutely. First of all, my presentation didn't have any dollars amount. That's all Tony's. But we are guaranteeing that design that we're doing right now for the boiler room is the ultimate design for the building for the next 20 years. So there's not going to be any duplication of work. The boilers that are going in, all the boilers that we're proposing as the future boilers, you're absolutely right, they are going in right now. Correct.
And I have one more question.
Sure.
The fact that we are installing the boilers, we've put them on order, and we're hopefully going to get them in before there's any issue with the existing boilers, because I believe we talked about possibly needing 6 weeks before they're in. That doesn't change your project in any way, that's being done before you come in, if this company is hired in. That doesn't change the project in any way as far as timing. Does it reduce the timing a little bit, or can you just very quickly tell those of us who are here approximately the timing to handle this project from start to finish?
Sure. Now, ESG is the performance contractor that's been retained. They've developed a schedule for the overall project, and maybe Doug Tischbein would be the best one.
For the larger project, it's a 2-year schedule. Taking advantage significantly of the summer schedules, probably more in 15 than 14, with the understanding of when authorization for contracting services may take place. It's going to be a little bit later, so we're really relying on the summer of 15 for a lot of work.
But to answer your question, yes, some of that work is getting jump-started now. The boiler project will be contained within the boiler room. They'll be able to work in there. As Doug said, a lot of the work will be done over the summer times, but some work will be done over the course of the year.
It'll be continuous for a 2-year period. I'm just trying to give you the schedule for summer.
Yeah, I'm just trying to show those who are here, during that time period, we are not expecting any shutdowns.
Absolutely not. If it does, it'll be when the school is not occupied.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks, guys.
I'm sorry?
Thanks. Yeah, I can hold it the wrong way.
Okay, we're done.
That's it. The next item is various items with respect to the Country Club of Woodbridge. And the first we'll have the report of the ad hoc committee. Carolyn Wolf, who chaired the committee, is here. The report is in the packets. And I do want to note for everyone watching and anyone else that we will have the report and the attachments up on the website tomorrow. So it'll be available to the town. And before you begin, Carolyn, I just want to thank you again so much for the time and effort you put in, and the entire committee did a terrific job, so thank you.
My pleasure. I'm sad it's here. Careful, it can slide away very easily.
What? Yeah.
Slides away very easily, careful.
Okay, I'm going to begin. This is the report. I'm going to read it, and I'll go from there. Woodbridge listens. Country Club of Woodbridge Ad Hoc Committee report to the Board of Selectmen today, November 13th. Purpose of the committee to provide an opportunity for all Woodbridge residents to express their views, concerns, and recommendations with respect to the property known as the Country Club of Woodbridge. The composition of the ad hoc committee is 5 town residents to be appointed by the first selectman, charged to hold 2 or more public hearings duly noticed at which town residents and others may comment upon the current and future uses of the property, and to report to the Board of Selectmen no later than November 7th, 2013, on the content of the public hearings. The ad hoc committee met its charge and achieved the purpose indicated above. We provided the opportunity for all Woodbridge residents to express their views, concerns, and recommendations with respect to the Country Club of Woodbridge property by holding 2 community conversations in the center gym. One on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2013, and the second on Tuesday, October 15th, 2013. Attendance at the 2 meetings together was approximately 250 people, and the response both at the events and subsequent hereto has, to our knowledge, been extremely positive. It is our understanding that the community conversation format is a new one for a town issue like this one. We divided the residents into groups. Each group had a moderator and a recorder. They had about 45 minutes to 1 hour to discuss their ideas for the future uses of the Country Club of Woodbridge and their questions. At the end of the evening, everyone returned to the larger group and each moderator presented his group's ideas. Based on the results of the 2 community conversations and correspondence forwarded to us by the First Selectman's Office and the Golf Commission, we have culled the following as the most common themes. We tried to represent ideas and questions that were stated at least twice or implied at least twice. Important themes from the results of our October community conversations: preserve as much open space as possible, keep all or part of the golf course and make it profitable, keep the pool and tennis. Some people are open to keeping the club as is and spending whatever it takes to keep the club running. Some only want the club to stay if it can be made financially viable. Sell all or part of the property with development restrictions to defray current costs. There was general acceptance for some controlled development on the property, with over 55 housing being the most popular. Other ideas that were discussed included to develop some of the property into a town center with retail shops, restaurants, office space, convenience store, gas station, etc., various types of recreation, athletic facilities, continuing care, retirement community, affordable housing in relation to the mean income of Woodbridge residents, organic farming, multiple-story apartment building that overlooks the golf course where clubhouse is first floor of the building, housing with no age limits, and possibly closing Woodfield Road and develop that area as well. A plan for the entire property should be decided upon before development begins. Any plan should go to referendum and not be decided at a town meeting. When the final proposal goes to referendum, there needs to be a financial model projecting the effects on all town expenses. The community wants continued communication and their questions answered. The following were the most common questions. How would the overall town financials look when incorporating various proposals for the use of the country club property? Why are other town-owned country clubs seemingly successful? What is the real and perceived condition of the country club? Is it possible to remove parts of the building while still leaving the locker rooms, pro shop, etc.? How much money would it cost to keep the golf course operational? What are the cost revenue projections of the country club? How much will it cost to leave as open space? Once a plan is developed, what will be the impact on the surrounding area? Would the sale to Toll Brothers have made up the deficit? Has there been a needs assessment for housing? Cost per household currently and in the future per year for course, debt, etc. Would the town send out a survey with the top 5 proposed ideas and have residents return the survey ranking their ideas in order of what they would most likely want to see done with the property? Attached to this report are the results of each conversation as they were reported at the end of the meeting, with some amendments based on the understanding of the facilitator of each group. Thank you.
that written report? You have it right here.
It's in your packet.
No, of just what they were able to hear and record. Is that everything that was just 2 suggestions or more? Is that what you said? I think you, at one point you said you were reading everything that you heard.
What's in your packet is all the community conversation results, but this came together through reading not just that, but a whole stack of emails that was sent to me from the Selectmen's office and the Golf Commission. That was in there as well. And yeah, and if you wanted copies of all those emails, I'm sure you could get them.
Update of operations, Jason?
Everyone, how are you doing? They all have copies of the financials, correct? Perfect, okay. So, September, first and foremost, was our second profitable month in a row. I think that's important to note. Start off with a rounds perspective, we saw 3,375 rounds for the month. This was about a 200 plus miss from our projection or our budget, but it did beat prior year by about 300 rounds as well. So again, we missed budget by about 9%, but we beat prior year by 9%, so we're getting closer. We had about a $52,000 miss in total revenue. Again, much of this miss is related to the greens fee, cart fee revenue. So again, similar story to previous months. We're just falling a little bit short on rounds. We're also falling a little bit short on the revenue that we're getting from those rounds. When we talk about APR, we missed budgeted price per round by about 14%, but remained fairly flat from prior year. Quickly, just going into a quick labor discussion, we were able to save a considerable amount of labor, almost 23% to plan. Again, that's something that we, on the operational level, try to control very closely. We also saved to prior year. And then on the expense line of the budget, we overspent by about $4,000, but remained pretty close. So all in all, total expense savings was $13,000. So you see, we did miss plan by about $44,000, but we were able to make a profit of just over $3,000. And again, I think a very good story continues to be that we're beating prior year. We see this in October as well. Barring any major snowstorms here for this month, we'll see it for November as well. So we're about $60,000 ahead of where we were last year on the bottom line. And again, that should increase when we see October financials, and then increase again when we see November financials. Any questions?
Yeah, still $137,443,000 short of your budget, correct?
Correct.
And you got a line item 55.2 for dues income monthly, which beat your budget, beat last year. I think we talked about this last month. So on a cash basis, we still didn't make any money, did we?
Correct.
Okay. And, no, that's right. I mean, that's
Well, I have one question for you, Jason. First of all, I commend you for the job that you personally are doing in trying to generate business there. And I know how hard you work there and how well people speak of you. However, when it comes to the numbers, I'm still a little disappointed in the fact that this year, I just want to make sure that I've got this correct again. This year, unlike last year, Casper is projecting a break even. Last year they projected, I believe it was a $300,000 windfall. We didn't get there, obviously, but this year they projected a break even. So when we're $137,000 off on three, which correct me if I'm wrong, three of what should be the most profitable months, in the golf business or in projected by your company. That puts, the way I did the figures, it puts us down about 100, just short of 120% off a goal. And I am not sure, because I don't think I ever really received it, what was the break even as far as the dollar amount? Because I'm afraid of what 120% off goal means. It doesn't mean 120,000. If the projected number is something much higher, which I believe it is, 120% could mean another 300,000 or 400,000. So I'm looking to see if I can get, I don't believe we ever received the report, maybe Tony did, on what the actual numbers were to the projection of a break even.
For a forecast?
Yes. Because that way it puts it a little better in place to know what is 100. I mean, I realize we, for the season so far, we were only down $21,000. But during that time, we had projected that we make 160. Correct. These are profitable months that were not being profitable. So I'm wondering if I can get a copy, maybe Tony has it, of what this year's annual projection was. So
I actually talk about it later in my report.
Okay, great.
$308,000.
Right.
Based, and can you get a copy of the actual?
Sure, yeah,
number?
it's a
That'd be
spreadsheet
great.
with all kinds
That'd
of.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not a reflection on you. I'm just trying to find out what the budgeted number was.
Correct, we understand it. And, you know, what we're seeing now is,
You know, October's 20% ahead of where we were last year. Unfortunately, 20% is, you know, $20,000, $13,000 as opposed, so you're not gonna make up those huge numbers. Now, the nice part is as we compare it to budget, we're not gonna be as far off because we don't have as much to lose in these next 4 or 5 months. You know,
Probably project a loss during some of those months.
absolutely, yeah, we do. We project a loss actually in November through March. It's fairly standard.
In order to prove the projection of $308,000 deficit wrong, come springtime, we gotta get our rounds and our APR up, right?
actually, the $308,000 is,
That loss, we don't feel that to be, you know, perfect weather and perfect conditions and, you know, that sort of thing. We do feel fairly comfortable with that number, that it's not gonna be any worse than that. But,
But I'm hoping it's gonna get better, so
So do we.
to get it
So do
better, you have to get your rounds up and your APR up, right?
absolutely, correct.
So what's the plan to do that in the springtime?
well, it's first of all, it's course conditions. We're gonna continue to, the course right now has recovered a tremendous amount and it's in great shape. We're looking to very inexpensively acquire 3 covers for our problem greens that will make them stronger when we first open the doors in the spring. Because the biggest impact on making money and charging more is the course conditions. And if we can fix that, again, we've done a tremendous amount to this point, and we've got a couple of really good ideas. There's a fertilizer application that our Yale has used recently to greatly improve the condition of their greens from a nematode issue that they're having. We're able to acquire that now, and within budget. And, you know, those sorts of things are going to help improve condition. And, you know, we've always been a little bit hesitant to market by telling people we're back, we're here, the course is great, because the course hasn't quite been great. We don't have that luxury anymore. We're going to do that and take the chance that the course is going to be great and really make an incredible push in the marketing front when we open the doors in March and April, and get everybody back.
Well, good luck.
We're going to try hard.
But all those things you mentioned, you said within the budget, that includes all those, the covers for the greens, and also these measures aren't gonna impact this budget at all, so
No.
you're gonna be able to do that.
Well, we've got some better than expected national discounts with Billy Casper. We're using our connections to hopefully borrow the covers, which we were able to get 1 last year. We're hoping to get 3 this year, which we're pretty confident about. And we take advantage of early buy programs and those sorts of things. And so, yeah, we should stay under the maintenance budget.
So for my last question, Jason, just to follow up what Joe was asking, I do remember, though not seeing the actual annual budget proposed by Casper, in some of the literature you gave us back a month or 2 ago was a projection of possible capital improvement projects that Casper foresees in the next, I believe it was 10 years, but they were spread out. I don't remember seeing much, if any, of those capital improvements being spent in this upcoming year. Is that correct? So
That's correct.
your budget is based on not using any money towards capital improvements this
Correct.
year?
Correct.
Whether it's the pool or the course?
Correct.
Or tennis?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
We're still trying, putting capital into the golf course would be a really cool thing. I think, changing something dramatically would really be a nice wow factor to our customers and would probably really draw people in. But we're trying very hard to manage the facility without putting those capital dollars. It is getting better. It's not getting better overnight that you could do a capital, but it's getting better every day. So we're hoping that, it's going to pay off. And we hope that this, 2014 is the year that it's going to do that.
All right, so my last question. Seeing, I said that last time, I know, but seeing what you're there every day, basically, and entering into next year, based on what you see, do you think we can go through next year without using any capital improvements to the course, the club, the building, the pool, the tennis? Can we get away with it for another year, without any major capital?
Yes, I do. I think it's going to take some luck. Mainly, if you want to operate exactly status quo, the most luck it's going to take is from your AC and your kitchen, your cooling units in the kitchen, and your few pieces of equipment that do work. From a golf course perspective, I don't think that there's any capital that's going to be required. Again, on the pool side, we know that there is some major capital coming up, but again, I don't see that as something that's going to come up this year. And so, I mean, if we knock on wood and say our prayers every night, yeah, I think we'll be all right. But again, there's issues with that club, the AC, there's issues with that clubhouse that could pose problems. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jason.
Take a question from the floor.
Not supposed to, will you? Yeah. We'll make an
My counsel
exception.
says that we can.
Make an exception.
We're not supposed to, but we will.
Thank you. I wondered if the club could provide a breakdown of profitability on the pool, on the tennis courts, on the clubhouse, and on the golf for public consumption, because I think it's an important part of making a decision on how to go forward with this property. And I'm not saying that if it's not profitable it should be eliminated, but it would help us understand, is there any component over there that broke even or made a profit in the past fiscal year, whatever the year is?
We should have name and address of any member of the public who addresses the board.
Well, that's true. Will you give your name and address, please, for the
Sure.
record?
My name is Joyce Simpson. I live at 5 Oakland Lane.
Deke has a response.
Deke, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, just as a partial response to that, at least portions of that are contained in the minutes of the Country Club of Woodbridge Commission, or that is the, not just the minutes rather, but the
Financial breakdown.
financial information, et cetera, that's posted as part of the minutes.
And where do I find it?
I'm not sure about that part.
The minutes are on the website, on the town website.
It's on the town
You'll find the
website,
minutes.
broken down? Okay, I'll look.
Well, I don't know if the financial reports are on the website.
We-
Financial
The minutes are on, well,
We could
we
probably
will look
provide
at it, we'll look at it. And
an
we're-
easier to understand analysis.
we're going to be posting information on the website in response to many of the questions that have come up and additional information, and we'll include that when we can.
Yeah.
People can consider adding that.
Sure.
It would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
The next item is I wanted to give a quick update on a meeting with Mylone and McBroom. Those are the consultants who we've hired to do our plan of conservation and development. Jeff and Jerry and I met with them to talk just about the country club aspect of their work. And of course, the country club is a very important part of the plan of conservation and development. And they agreed in their contract to focus on country club in an expedited way. They did attend both community conversations and have a copy of Carolyn's report, which they're considering. They told us that having the opinions of 250 people is a very, very solid base to go forward. You don't usually get that many people coming out of charrette. So that was very helpful to them. They will be reviewing all studies and analyses that have already been done with respect to the property. They'll do a site study, including topography, availability of utilities, assessment of any structures that are on the property. Then they will identify opportunities and constraints, various options, and then help us come to our town vision for the property. What do we want to see that is consistent with realistic financial capabilities of the town, and will then help us draft an RFP to have proposals come to meet those that vision that's identified, and identify necessary zoning regulations. And it was a very good meeting. They clearly have a lot of experience doing this kind of thing. Also, I particularly like that they think that property is a tremendous opportunity for the town. They recognize how special it is and beautiful it is, and will really help us develop the best possible uses. So I wanted to let you know about that.
What's the
Yep.
RFP? I'm interested in that RFP. What are they gonna help us develop?
An RFP, for, once we decide what we want to do with the property, what the parameters are, do an RFP and see what kind of proposals we get from developers who will make proposals for meeting the standards that we come up with as what we want for the property.
So how, do we have any specifics on what they're delivering back to us? I mean, are they quantifying anything in terms of options and what they're gonna tell us and economically, socially, you know, I'm just not clear on what we're getting back from Milo and McBroom.
Well, we'll be getting iterative reports. First, they are going to identify what they think is possible to do with the property, what they recommend, given the topography, given financial considerations, given the availability of sewer and water, and what the town is looking for. That is not final yet. We have not identified exactly what we want to do. We're going to have to work more to say, you know, I don't know what it is at this point, but clearly.
But are they, is part of their charge to help us do that with data and information? I guess because we never gave them an RFP. This is part of my, and I know the next agenda item, obviously, but.
Yeah.
And as part of any plan, I'm just not clear, because they were engaged really by, you know, P&C.
Yes.
I've never talked to these folks, I know you have, but it's just not clear. Typically, you would give them you would promulgate an RFP that told them what we were looking for and what we expected from them. That wasn't done. So my concern is.
Well, it was done for the
It
plan
was?
of conservation and development.
Well, yeah,
not to
but
the-
not for, I mean, my concern right now is, and we're talking about Country Club of Woodbridge right now, right, in this discussion. It's not clear to me, because the scope of work that they're doing right now was an afterthought. It wasn't part of, no, Jerry, don't shake your head.
No,
It wasn't part-
at the interviews, Joe, they were specifically asked.
Then why wasn't it in the first contract?
In the interviews, they were specifically asked whether they would be able to give advice and consult on the country club.
Okay, what
I think that was
parameters
true.
were given to them? What parameters were given to them? And if that's the case, then why were we given a contract after the fact that added on language concerning an expedited scope of work directed specifically to the Country Club of Woodbridge if it was part of the original RFP?
As I understand it, I wasn't here for the original RFP, but the plan of conservation and development includes all of the town, and particularly, I think, for our town, the pieces and the parcels that are of particular interest are the Country Club of Woodbridge and the area down in the Flats or the Village District. What we discussed with them when they responded to the RFP, we had 5 respondents, I think, and we asked them all if they would pay particular attention and early attention to the Country Club of Woodbridge and expedite their work in that.
But I don't want to beat a dead horse, I just don't know what their work is.
So I can tell you the answer to your first
Good.
question. We specifically, the interview committee specifically asked each applicant about their ability to perform services on the Country Club of Woodbridge specifically.
Specifically as to what?
As to future uses, as to their experience with country clubs. Malone and McBroom does have significant experience with country clubs.
Right.
And whether they're familiar with the country club both now and the way it was before. And I think the answers that the interview committee got were acceptable as far as Miller. Then the contract came, and I looked at the contract, and Ellen looked at the contract, and Tony looked at the contract, and we noticed there was nothing specific about the Country Club of Woodbridge, even though they were charged with performing work on a country club.
In connection with the town plan of conservation and development.
Well, the
To be
whole thing,
clear.
but we asked them, go ahead.
Look, Joe, why don't you identify exactly what it is you want to be sure
Well-
that we are covering, and we'll check with them.
I'll tell you, you can go back to the report we just heard, because there were a lot of good questions coming out of that. And I don't know that the deliverables coming back are gonna talk about, what is the real, how much money would it cost to keep the golf course operational? What are the cost revenue projections? How much will it cost to leave as open space? Once a plan is developed, what will be the impact on the surrounding area? Has there been a needs assessment for housing? Cost per,
Needs assessment for housing is in the plan, but some of those questions will be answered. We're not
and
asking
they may
you
be,
to
listen,
answer all
I'm
of
just
them.
saying,
Yeah.
we're in charge of, for the townspeople to deal with this issue of the CCW. I've never spoken to Mylone and McBroom. I was never part of any RFP that was specifically related to the issues we face with the CCW right now, that some of which go beyond looking at it from the town plan and conservation and development situation. And I know that they're doing work for us in connection with that, and I believe at no additional cost. So I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I voted for that. There's really no downside. But I'm trying to get at, I don't understand exactly what they're, because we didn't tell them, here's what we want, here's what we're looking for you to do. And if we did, I haven't seen it. Here's what we're looking at for you to do. Here's the specifications, here's your specific charge. And typically an RFP will say, and here's what we expect back. You're gonna give us a report on this that gives us the best uses, and it quantifies them economically, and it talks about the social impact and all these nice things that the folks wanna hear. And we all need to know to arrive at a decision as to what's the best way to do this. And if they're gonna do that and they're qualified to do that, I have no problem with them. But I just haven't seen
Can I
it.
interject one thing?
Sure.
Just to follow up on what I hear Joe say. From what I read, the charge to be in the contract, it was a little vague, and I wasn't sure either if they were being charged with getting us back results as far as best land use and possible land uses, or if there was a business component to it as well. I didn't see where there was a business component to give us what they, if they were going to be a consultant that was going to actually give us some figures on what they thought business use could be. I thought basically what I read said what the land use could be, which makes more sense for the 10-year, economic development, or I'm sorry, conservation and development plan. But I didn't actually see, and maybe that's what, I don't know if Joe's getting a little bit of that too, but on that chart, on the paragraph that I read, it was a little vague, so I guess I'm asking you, since you had discussions with them,
Yes.
was there a component that was at least discussed, maybe not written, where they were going to come back with business alternatives or strictly land use alternatives?
Well, first let me say, generally, the things Joe's been talking about are within the scope of what they've been doing. And what I found particularly helpful talking to them is that they're helping us formulate all this. They have much more experience than we do in the kinds of things we need to be looking at to get business proposals. I think in terms of business, as I understand it, again, we will identify what are the parameters of what we want to see done on that property, and then we need to craft an RFP where the business community will come to us and say, okay, you've agreed that we can develop 10% of the property, you want a golf course, you want this much open space, these are the parameters that the town wants, and then the RFP goes out and the business community comes back to us.
Okay, so one quick follow-up. From what I'm hearing is that you believe, as I do, that basically their parameters are the land use issues, what are maybe the best possible ways to use this land, and then if it turns out that a few of the options are certain type of business decisions, we will take it to a new RFP and look for someone to go further with that.
Right.
But you're basically asking this consultant, Mylone McBroom, to handle more of the land use issues, give us the options as best served for land use options.
I'm
To be
not sure,
included in
I'm
the-
not sure I see
I don't
land use
see,
and.
I keep hearing you say a new RFP once they come back with
There's
business.
a definitional problem going on.
Yeah.
It's the way that we're using the terms business use and land use, and at least the way I'm hearing it.
And I think it existed in the contract.
Can I just make a
Well,
suggestion, maybe?
let me just finish my
Okay,
point,
sure, go ahead.
if I may. And I think we're kind of talking at each other instead of getting real meaning out of what we're trying to say. You're talking about, I want to make sure I understand this. I think, Tony, what you're saying is ultimate use, if you will, of how this property might be developed. And we're talking about, by we, I mean the land, those of us who are talking about land use, about how the property, what's the highest and best use that you can make out of this property, whether or not it involves potential business development or housing development or any of that. So, as I understand what Milo and Bruin's gonna do, we hired them to do the land of conservation development anyway. Rather than duplicating costs and having somebody completely separate come out and look at various components at the CCW that would involve both the land use and what you're calling the development use at the same time, we're sort of getting an all-in-one package with Milo and Bruin, correct?
I agree, except I don't know what I'm getting.
No, and I understand what you're saying. I
think in the
understand
end,
that.
I
I just want to
agree
make
with
sure
the
that we're all
conception.
talking the same thing.
Right, and I think in the end, you're right, and I think going back to Joe's original point, because it's a little too vague from what we can read, and basically this is why we're having differences on what maybe Milo and McBroom's gonna come back to us with, because I don't know if there was enough specifics, or maybe we should give them more specifics.
So a little definition is.
So-
That's where we're all getting at.
So could I make this
I just wanna make
suggestion?
sure we were saying the
You know,
same
and
thing.
that was good to flesh it out, because, I think we need a plan, and I think the plan needs timelines and so forth, and we can talk about that later if you want, but I have no problem, I've always advocated we need a consultant to help us here. If Mylone and McBroom is the correct one, I'm all for it, because it makes sense, that's why we voted for it in the first place. So, is it possible to get Mylone and McBroom here to talk to us, so that we can understand what they're doing?
I will talk to them about another meeting. They're just like anxious to get to work, but we can see about having them come in.
They're going
answer
to
your
be
questions.
meeting monthly with Town P&Z.
So maybe
as I
we'll
understand.
piggyback with Jen.
Because they made a proposal of an
Except
18-month.
P&Z is not really in charge of the real issue we have with CCW right now. They're in charge of the town plan and conservation, I understand that.
We've got layers.
But we
We've
have
got
layers,
layer
and if
layer
we're gonna
this
use
layer.
this as our consultant for this issue, I don't wanna hear that they can't come talk to us because they're talking to P&Z, because then you're not making your case as to why we should be doing it this way, okay? So, if they're really working for us now, as I see it, as part of this issue here, I'd like to get them here so I could talk to them about what we should expect, what they're doing, and it's not reflected on your recap or anything, but I need to talk, I would like to talk to them.
Okay,
My suggestion is,
I understand that
can
you
we
would
do
like
it?
to talk to them.
And I don't know that, I don't know if anybody else wants to talk to them either. You don't have to do it on my account, but I just feel that if we're gonna do our job right, we
wanna
should
kick
know
the
what
tires.
this is all about.
I take your request and I will discuss with them the best way. But if there are specific questions, I guess you've expressed them.
Well,
And I
can
guess.
send them to you too
Yeah.
if you want, but
Okay.
I don't think it advances the ball.
All right.
And in addition to that, because now we've talked about the RFP, and we might as well just have this discussion and not go into the plan that we've, it's all kind of the same discussion.
Okay.
I mean, what are, in terms of this, if Mylone and McBroom turns out to be our consultant, then what's their time frame? When are they coming back? I think it was early or mid-January or something like that in
Early in
the
the year,
contract,
that'll
right?
be great.
And, okay, so then what's the next milestone from there? Where do we go from there? And right on down the line, what's our comprehensive plan to get to RFP and then get to a referendum? What's the plan?
Well,
We need, I think.
I think there's a little more in the, or a lot more in the plan than you're suggesting, but we have a timeline from them. They are looking at just about all, perhaps all the things that you've mentioned. I think they're anxious to get started. They will be reporting back by early in the year, probably sometime in January, and will help us at that point with an RFP as well as zoning regulation changes, which will be very important.
Then
But
can
the
we
town-
develop a plan from there as this board and where we want to go from there in terms of what the next steps are? So
And-
that we have a plan for ourselves and a timeline?
I think it's a
Or do we
little
just
early.
take it as a,
Well, I think it's a little early
why
to-
is it early to have a plan? You always have a plan, you start with a
I don't know
plan.
what you mean by plan. A plan for.
Timelines, a plan, an idea of where we want to go. We start here, we have to go to an end point. What's our plan to get there? We're solving a business problem here. This town is running a business, for better or for worse. We're losing money. We're trying to figure out what to do with this situation. To me, if this was in the business world, you would have a plan as to how you're going to attack this. We seem to just go stage by stage, and we're going to go to the next stage. Why can't we?
Not to put too fine a point on it, but I think this is a plan. I mean,
What are your timelines? When do you plan to go to referendum with this?
What referendum? Why am I? You're making an assumption here that this is. I mean,
It's got to go to referendum.
what? But what has to go to referendum?
Well, exactly. But once you decide that.
No. You're putting the what before you even know what the what is.
No, I'm trying to tell you folks that you need a plan as to what your timeline is to try to get to what the what is, and then work yourself down to where you're going to go. Otherwise, we're going to be here for another 2 or 3 years losing money.
I'm not hearing that, Joe.
Okay.
So, I mean,
So you guys
what
don't
I'm-
like plans? That's fine.
I don't know what you mean by
I'm
you
suggesting
guys.
a plan.
I don't know what you mean by you folks.
Well, you-
Stop right there. No, stop right there. That's not fair.
Why?
I'm sitting here the same amount of time that you're sitting here, listening to this information for the
Yeah.
first time,
Right.
and I don't like the accusation that somehow I'm not processing this as effectively as you're processing it.
And that's not what I
Okay?
said. I'm advocating a plan, and you're advocating that you don't need a plan. that
No,
we have a
I'm
plan.
advocating, what I'm saying is that they're gonna report back to us
Right.
with what the first step in this process is
Right.
going to be.
Right.
And that's a plan.
And
I
what's
don't
your,
wanna put the
what's your
cart before the
plan from
horse.
there?
I think
Why don't
we've
we see
gone
what we get
around
back
and around
from
on
it?
this. The very
Okay.
important thing, I think we all agree, is to get the town vision, which we've been working on. I think we've made actually incredible progress in a short time. We've had 250 residents come out in public meetings. We have a consultant who is highly regarded and is very confident about the next steps. They cover the things that you've talked about. What we need to get to is the town vision. It's very important that our town continue to talk about this. We're not there yet, but we've made incredible progress. We're going to work with them on the town vision and then do an RFP and see what the business community is willing to do with our town vision. We have a timeline for Mylone and McBroom. It's in there, it's in the contract. We expect them to be back to us early in the year, and promptly we will work on an RFP. It's very difficult to put timelines in government the way we do them in business. Many of us would like to, but it doesn't always work that way.
You can do it. You don't have to hit them all the time, but you can do it to keep yourself
Oh, that's
moving in a
fine.
direction.
I think we have very clear next steps,
Right.
and there's no reason to think we will not proceed promptly as we accomplish those next steps. We don't know what the responses will be to the RFP. We don't know if we'll get any we like in the first responses.
So after the January
So-
report from M&M, Mylone and McBroom, you're hoping that our next, as this board, function will be to then try to develop an RFP from that report. Is that basically what I'm hearing?
If we are confident that we have the town vision at that point, and that's something we will see if that develops at that time. And that's where we are.
Sounds good to me.
Anything else on this topic?
No.
I think we've gone around it. Okay. Is Betsy here?
Yes.
No, it's a waste.
Yeah, why don't we go Betsy and then?
Sure. Comment the way down.
Oh, right.
That's not an executive session.
No, right. Okay, good point. So while we're waiting for Betsy, we will move to, without objection, we're moving around a little bit on the agenda. Town Council's report is to adopt a conflict of interest policy for community development block grants.
Right, this is standard, we have one in effect, we have to renew it every year or so, I'm not sure if it's a year, every 2 years, but this has already been accomplished. This is a requirement for the community development block grant, which is overseen by Pat Crisco, our tax collector.
Is there a, do we adopt it as a board?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt the policy?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
We are just waiting for Betsy Quist.
I saw her come in, she should be there.
Anybody want a cookie?
There's cookies out
Should
there.
I pass these along?
Cherries.
Well,
There's a whole
obviously
big,
homemade.
those cherries?
They're cherry, they're chocolate covered cherries.
Who would-
Nancy
who
made
does?
Chocolate.
Yeah.
If I eat one of them,
Can I just?
All right.
Just take one and pass it along. We obviously all need a little sugar.
Do you have one?
I don't know.
All right. And you're telling us too?
I have to stay grumpy if I'm gonna
Does it
pay
seem
attention to
like-
John.
I would
take it
Tony,
home.
you know, I gotta get my
No,
edge.
I'm all set, thanks.
I love it.
Susan, does it seem like I need more caffeine?
Okay, should be right out.
You don't need more caffeine.
All right, I'll pass it.
I got up, took
Just
a
one,
break,
Tony.
came back, you were still asking the same
That's
question. You're fine.
Just one.
Taking it home.
No, I.
How about the conflict?
Thank you, Nancy.
We just did it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we did it.
Well, here in case anyone else would like some.
It looked delicious.
She's coming. She said she'd be ready.
Why don't we do something?
Yeah, do tax refunds.
Okay.
Can we skip the?
All
Do,
right.
town clerk's report.
Yes, good point. Without
Town clerk's
objection,
report.
we will go to item number 7.
Revaluation first?
Yeah.
Yes, but we're just going to do one quick thing. Item number 7 is town clerk's report. Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the
So
town
moved.
clerk's report? Second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's see. We are now at item number 3, update on revaluation. And before Betsy starts, for those of you who don't know, Betsy Quist has received the Distinguished Service Award from the Connecticut Association of Assessing Officers. Congratulations, Betsy. It's a tribute to you and to the town, and we thank you very much for that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And now, your update.
Okay, I wanted to come and visit with you. I haven't been here for about 3 months, and I've been hard at work, diligently doing revaluation for the town of Woodbridge. Basically, right now, we're in the data collection process of it, so there isn't any value changes that are occurring. I'm very forthcoming to tell the homeowners that there are no value changes. If I walk out of their house, I am informing them if there's anything that I've discovered that is a difference from 10 years ago, just so they know. But it is a fair process to let them know that if I discover something now from 10 years ago, because it takes me a year to do this data collection process, everything will be activated for the 2014 grand list, so that you don't penalize the people who live in the northeast corner of the town, because that's where I started, and then the people in the southwest corner don't get to see me until, next May, and they have changes. The people in the northeast corner would get one more grand list. So every change that occurs through revaluation will all be across the board. It won't be some in 2013 and some in 2014. There have been some occurrences where I found some changes that I have made to decrease the assessments based on we've had some significant storms in the last few years. Sheds have been gone, greenhouses, pools, things that have been destroyed and been removed that may not have actually taken a building permit out to, remove them. I have removed them proactively so that those have come off right away. So any removals of any type of storm damage things have come off based on that. I did about 3 months ago show you a map and gave you some numbers of what I had started with and where I was at. And at the time, I told you that there were 3,640, well, at that time, there were 3,691 parcels. There are now 3,694 parcels, because we've had a couple splits since then. So I want to show you a map of where we are. When I showed you a map prior, it let you know that at that point, I had done 1,956 inspections, and to date, we have 2,646 inspections done. So as we start filling in the town, it's going to get red. So everything will be covered. Now, this will include an inspection to the property, a second inspection done, a card left, a letter sent, and at that point, we just decide, at that point, they don't want something. And the exterior's been done, and then we're done. I do try to encourage the taxpayers to call me if they don't want an interior inspection, so that I don't continue to bother them. But unfortunately, we still have about 900 more to do, but we're gaining on it. So, and people have been very receptive. I've found the community is been really good about it. I think the last time when I came here and it was out there, people saw the telecast and they said, "Oh, well, maybe I'll let you in." But
About how long does an average inspection
about 10 to 15 minutes. It depends. It depends on the homeowner, the questions, what they're asking. I mean, how large the house is. There are some more difficult properties, and then I do an exterior, and I don't need them to come out there and do the exterior with me. And so, we try to schedule, I do at least one Saturday a month. Sometimes I do 2 Saturdays a month. That will probably wean off as the winter months come. I usually have done inspections through 6 o'clock at night, but now I can't do that. It's dark, and so I try not to do it past 5 o'clock now, so.
Yeah, sounds like basically quick math, you're over 70% done. And I believe, did you say you had till the end of October, next October, was that correct?
Yes,
If
but I
needed.
would like to be done by May of next year, only because I would like the summer months for review. And we like to have an independent consultant that comes in and goes through the town with me and double checks my work and does a quality control with me, so.
And you said there's just a few people, or you asked people to call you if they're not interested and not gonna have you in the house. What's a feel for that? 10 residents, 20 is it a large number of people who say?
Presently, right now, I've had 36 people call me and say they've refused an inspection. I've had 4 that have refused for me to walk on their property at all.
And then you do the drive-by.
I drive by, I take a picture as of the date, I say this is the date I was there. It satisfies the town's obligation through the statutory inspection.
Anything else? Thank you. But don't leave, Betsy. I would now entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to CGS Section 1-200, to discuss the tax appeal with respect to Electronica, and invite Betsy Christ to join us in executive session. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.